2022, just a few days before Christmas. Hope you all have your plans already solidified and ready to spend time with your friends and family. Just a few announcements that I have. I think I'll be passing this on to Graham afterwards. And one thing, obviously, end of the year, we have a legislative session starting January 3rd. We have a lot of things on our docket that we're hoping to accomplish this year, as we always do. Annexation and transportation funding are on the two front ones, for us. One thing I am going to be asking all of you township officers, as I have last year as well, is contact your legislators. We have up to 70 new legislators, brand new. They know, some of them know nothing about townships, so we have to do a re-education of a lot of these people, and they don't understand what it is that we do, what our purpose is, what challenges we have. These are things that we need to educate them. And the lobby team here at MAT can only do so much. We have 3 of us, and Pat, you know nothing about townships. Well, I believe that, Pat. But we do need to be very adamant about contacting our legislators, letting them know we're going after. For easy number terms, we're looking at about $40 million in additional transportation funding, and however that comes to be. My goal is, or my thought process is, or one solution is to have 15% of the auto parts and sales repair, or auto parts sales and repair tax dedicated to townships, which would be about $43 million in additional funding. That's on top of the $52 million that we already get through the HUTDF for 2022. Keep in mind that number is going down next year. We're expecting a decrease next year of 7%, or about $47 million. So a decrease between $4 to $5 million, just because people are more fuel efficient cars, electric vehicles, driving less, what have you. But they are expecting less dollars next year, so that needs to come from somewhere. And so that's kind of what we're trying to get at. So 40 million in additional funding is the key number for that. Annexation reform, Graham and I, and also Steve, we've had conversations with the league and coalition and Small Cities Association, try to come up with some resolution. That did not amount to much, which is kind of what we figured. And but at least we started the process, and essentially what we're looking at doing, because we can't take a bull run at this thing, otherwise all legislators, especially new ones, are just going to dig in their heels, and because they're going to be shell shocked. But we are looking to do is stop the land grabs right now. There's way too much of that stuff going on. Cities have grabbed a bunch of land, and they're taxing these undeveloped parcels that never should have gone to the city in the first place. And unless the landowner truly wanted it to be in the city for whatever reason, but I believe that there's a lot of land out there that should rightfully come back to the townships, and so the townships can reap the benefits of those tax dollars. And so that's one thing that we want to try to get accomplished. And part of that is going to be detachment. Is the cities, they claim that there is a process for detachment. Yes, technically there is. Is it easy to do? No, it's not, because there's a lot of runaround, like most things, or workarounds that prevent parcels from detaching back into the township. And so we want to try to get that cleaned up, so it's an easier process for us. But again, those are things that we need to have people continuing to contact their legislators. If you have a good relationship with a legislator in your area, please have coffee with him or her, and have those monthly conversations or weekly during session, and be a bug in their ear so that they can continually know what is going on, especially if they're on a committee. If they're on the transportation or local gov, state gov or whatever, and we need those type of members to have our backs and be working for us. Last session, we had a couple of informational hearings that were very, very good and very positive for townships. Legislators, when they hear the stories, even when cities and the townships are speaking side by side, and they hear both of us and what we bring to the table, they understand that there's a power imbalance here that needs to be straightened out. They're the ones who created the imbalance. The legislators did back in 1992, and so they're the only ones who can straighten this out. And so last year they didn't understand, they didn't have, whether it's true that because of the election, they did not want to do anything that cycle, what have you, it doesn't matter, that's history. We don't have an election this year. So that excuse is out the window. And so we'll see what kind of excuse they come up with this year if they choose not to do anything. And but we need to hold their feet to the fire. And they work for us as well, not just the cities. So anyways, I'll get off that soapbox. I love my soapboxes. So contacting legislators. I did speak with Representative Hornstein. This is regarding transportation funding. So I was with the Transportation Alliance virtual meeting that we had. Representative Hornstein happened to be there. Of course, he's the chair of the Transportation Committee in the House. And he essentially gave us a playbook. This is nothing new, but it's just nice to hear from a legislator, especially from the chair of transportation, what it is that we should do in order to be successful in getting transportation funding. This is where you guys come into play again. And if any of you were at the district meetings, at every district meeting, well, except for two, I was not at. Excuse me. I asked for pictures of your worst roads. I want your roads that are rutted up and that are just in disrepair that we need to get fixed. Let me see your culverts that are crap. And unfortunately, this time of year, it's kind of hard to take pictures of that stuff. So we may have to wait till spring thaw, or maybe if we have a January thaw, and you can get pictures of your roads that way too. And but when I'm testifying at the Capitol, I need to have these things. This is what Hornstein's asking for. When I asked for this back at the district meetings, and we had, all total, I think we had probably 1,200 to 1,300 people in attendance at all 13 district meetings. I've gotten 3 pictures. That's it. And I need more. I need a ton more. Plus, what Representative Hornstein is asking for is for you guys, regular, typical township officers, if you're willing to come to the Capitol and testify and just tell them your story. They want to know, what are we going to do with that money? Essentially a return on investment. So if we give you additional $40 million, what's it going to look like? How's it going to be spent? What are we going to do? And to me, I think it's overkill. I think it's pretty obvious what we're going to do with it, especially when we have 17.3 trillion or billion dollars in surplus right now. If we can't fund townships properly with that type of surplus, what's it going to take? That's essentially the message I want to bring to them. What's it going to take? I know everyone has their handout right now, but we've had our handout for years and years and years, and we've been continually underfunded in just a huge way. It's not even like just a little underfunded. We have just been woefully underfunded in those terms. So we need to work on that. But again, that's going to take diligence from all of us, from the lobby team, and also from you officers. But you guys are going to really be the key to getting this thing over the finish line, so we can actually get this funding that we're all asking for. So pictures of bad roads, we have to wait till the thaw, but whenever you can do that, I'm going to be continuing to harp on that. So please do that. Who's willing to come to the Capitol? We are going to have a Township Day at the Capitol in February 1st and 2nd. We're asking for everybody to be here. I know in the past that's always been L&R in the spring. L&R in the spring does not exist anymore, and we're still going to have L&R, but that's going to be more in the fall time. So you guys can decide what bills or what resolutions you want to have passed, and what you want us to work on at the following legislative session, and accumulate those up, and then L&R can speak about that and vote on that stuff before the annual conference, and we can have those discussions then. But for the springtime, we got to have bodies. We want to have bodies and fill up that rotunda, fill up that Capitol, and make a showing. Because if we don't show, and the legislator is going to say, well, I guess there aren't any problems with townships. And there's nothing we need to be concerned about there. When the cities have issues, they show up. When people have a problem, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. I hate to say that, it's an old cliche, but it works, unfortunately. And it's that we have to be that squeaky wheel. And and the grease is the funding. So let's see what we can do about that, please. So February 1st and 2nd, We do have we have dinner. Leslie and Kristen are the ones planning this. So we do have dinner planned up for, yep, it's a new February L&R. It's not called L&R anymore. It's just Township Day at the Capitol. But thank you, Reno. Appreciate that. And but there'll be a dinner reception that I think it's Wednesday, Thursday, February 1st and 2nd. But there'll be events throughout the day, or I think starting at 1 o'clock on February 1st. Dinner that night. And we'll kind of get marching orders as far as what we want to talk about to legislators on the following day, February 2nd. And we're going to have a slate of things to talk about with legislators on the following day as well. Breakfast in the morning, of course, and then get to it and start talking about our legislative agenda. We have a bunch of stuff. We want to talk about pill payments. We want to talk about noxious weeds. We want to talk about culverts. We want to talk about road weight issues, that we get. Seem like every year there's always some more weight exemptions that are coming forward to us. So those things we want to talk about. Of course, spring short courses are going to be coming up March as they do every year. So after Township Day, which I believe is the 14th of March, if I'm not mistaken. I'm going to quick check my calendar here. I see Pat. Yes, okay, thank you, Pat. March 14th. And so it's going to be the following week, following 3 weeks. So 20th through 20th of March through the 7th of April. 15 locations coming to one near you. So please check on that. If you have any, especially if you have any new officers, encourage them. I know we have one new officer in our township. I mean, I'm already encouraging her to go to that. But even you veterans, especially clerks, treasurers, if you need some additional training, that's a great place to go. Also a great place to network. Meet your fellow colleagues, what's going on in other townships, and bounce ideas off each other. That's a great way to figure out how to do township government right. And we want to help facilitate that. So, and plus you get to meet me if you haven't already. So, but we do have Matt U, the long promised Matt University is going to be going live this week. So again, we have 1,780 townships in our association. We only have 166 that have signed up so far. We sent out, I think, at least one constant contact, if not two. There'll be another constant contact going out this week with a link to help you to sign up. And thank you, Pat, for that question. How much is Matt U for 2023? No cost. That cost is being picked up by Matt. And because there's a lot of training that we need to do, they're rolling out a new platform called Origami. That name doesn't need to mean anything to you guys. However, it's just a new format that they are using to help with with facilitating insurance and making claims. We got to make sure that we have all of our updated information via that. So there's going to be some instructional videos that's going to be with Matt. We're going to have instructional videos on CTAS. This is all going to be cumulative. The reason that 2023 is free is for two reasons. One, Matt has some specialized videos that they want to send to you and have you view. But two, it's going to give us a full 12 months to build up our video library. Because right now it's depleted. We had Seminar Web before. So essentially it's Seminar Web. It's what we've always had. We've repackaged it, is all it is. And we've actually made it more affordable. So after 2023, there will be a cost involved. Previously, what it was $25 for every video that you viewed. That's regardless of if you have 3 officers or 5 officers or whatever in your township, you each watch the same darn video, you look at $25, each time. It can get pretty costly. And I don't even know how many videos. We don't have that many videos right now, but we're going to, on Seminar Web, but we will have a much broader availability of videos, whether from legal, from how to do roads. We want to have some certifications. We're actually working with offices of the state auditor to work on a CTAS certification program. That's not going to be anytime soon. I'm hoping by the end of the year, we'll have that worked up. So if you have a new treasurer, a new clerk, it's just going to be your basic, so that to get people up and running so that the basics of CTAS. And because that is so important for us going forward, that everyone get on CTAS. I've been preaching that since district meetings too. And but we want to try and get as many people automated as possible. We realize that those who do not have broadband, that's a challenge. And so that is not going to be as easy for you guys, unless you're able to bring your computer remote, upload and download when you get to a hotspot area. But for the vast majority of us who do have access, we need to have more people using CTAS. And so that reporting process gets a lot easier. I just talked with Lori this morning as far as how to do end of year reporting. She's going to have a video hopefully uploaded in the next few weeks and on how to do your end of year reporting. And so those are the type of things that we want to get. It's not going to replace training, but it's going to hopefully enhance it and supplement that. Because we do have some people that have the same question over and over and over every month and every year. And so those repetitive questions, we hope to be able to answer through Matt U and make it a lot easier for you that way. Because our trainers are only available so many times, during the week. But if you have access to Matt U, you can have access to that video whenever you want to be able to view it. If you can't sleep in the morning, like Reno, and want to watch it at 3 o'clock in the morning, go for it. And but otherwise, we just want to make sure that we have as much training for you as possible. Is there a shortcut way through CTAS? Excuse me, I better start looking at chat. I see there's 16 in here. Whoa. Yikes. I'm just going to quick go through these, see if I missed anything. Township made only 2.5 miles long. Roads are okay. You mean, well, you don't need any funding then, Pat, do you? Is that what you mean? Yeah, you guys are solid. Good to hear. All right. Oh, Leslie already put the registration information. Thank you. Registration information for Township Day at the Capitol. Leslie put that in the chat. So please go ahead and click on that. This can be our first in-person. Again, it's a new LNR, but now Township Day at the Capitol. First spring event since, did we do one in 2020? I think maybe it's 2019. So 4 years. And so we really want to make a big splash. I think it's like $100 to register. And then I think there's a block of rooms. So if you do need to stay overnight, you certainly can do that as well. It's really unfortunate. Cost is minimal. Benefits so valuable. Well, thank you. Cost sharing. Yeah, and we do understand that some of that can be prohibitive. And apologize. Obviously, there are costs that are associated with all this type of stuff. I mean, inflation is hitting everybody, unfortunately, and we do understand if that's an issue. But I would encourage you to talk to your township, talk to your colleagues, and because the benefit of, as stated there, the benefit of having people there, if we can get this funding from the legislature, and that's just going to go a long way in helping to alleviate some of these additional costs that you all are experiencing too. Hotels are not minimal. That is true. If you can at least come for one day, either the first or the second, that'd be great too. If you can't make it for both, I totally get it. You're right. Hotel costs can be very prohibitive. But this is one thing that I know I talked about last Township Tuesday as well. That and again, I know some of the townships are very small, so any type of increase really seems like a wallop to your residents. But again, when we're talking about we need to function as a government, we as townships, we try to do things always on the cheap as we possibly can. It's almost like a badge of honor for us. I think we need to get out of that mentality, and we need to realize that we need to function. We need to provide services, and these things do cost money. And I'm not saying that we need to open up the purse strings and just be like a drunken sailor. But I think we do need to be a little more liberal with that and just understand that things do cost money, and our residents need to understand that. And in order for us to be able to compete, we need to be able to spend more than what we have. And inflation otherwise is just going to kill us. I know my township is a victim of that as well. I shouldn't say victim because we're doing it to ourselves, and trying to decrease our levies. And we need to think differently when it comes to that. Everyone's situation is different, so I cannot speak for everybody or speak to everybody on that. You have to decide for yourself on what is best for you. Thank you, Graham. If you can't make it, handwritten letters, phone calls, emails that clearly come from you, not just canned emails or canned phone calls, things that are personal. So if you can't come to the Capitol, do an email campaign to these legislators. Make yourself heard that way. And it's very cheap. It's just your time. And so if you can't spend time at the Capitol, spend time in front of your computer sending out emails or making phone calls. Thank you, Graham. That was a great suggestion. Mary saying, don't forget W-2s and 1099s. That sounds like a Lori topic or Nicole, so I'll leave it to them. Is there a shortcut way through CTAS to do the meta end of year audit? No clue. Again, that would be a Lori question. I see Lori just appeared. And I'm almost done here, Lori, and I'll let you take over. Actually, I think Graham will be next. But keep that one in the hopper, Lori, and I'll let you answer that one later. You didn't say how much. Okay, we did talk about Matt U. Yeah, so Matt U next year is going to be $149 starting in 2024. Again, so if you look at how Seminar Web is, it's just a repackaged Seminar Web. Seminar Web is $25 per video. If you watch 6 videos, you've just paid for your entire year of Matt U. And so that's what the difference is, 6 videos. And so we think we priced it very well, and so that it's not going to be so cost prohibitive for a lot of us, on that. So please think about that. And right now, that's all I have, and I'm going to pass this off to Graham.
So, seeing as how the holiday is just around the corner, I thought I'd do something that was a bit light and a bit fun. So here we go. Just a moment. Let me get my screen share set up here. Oh, no, there we go. So I figured I'd talk a little bit about liquor licenses. So here's a fun little power. I've had enough conversations in my time here that I know some townships just aren't aware that they have this little power, and it's kind of a fun one. So here we are. Of course, in the state of Minnesota. Well, so we're going to start by talking about the licensing requirement in general, a little bit about the types of licenses, how they get issued, and finally we'll talk about the finance piece. So of course, the general rule in the state of Minnesota is that you can't sell liquor without a license in this state. The license issued is usually you're going to see it divided into one of 2 major categories, on sale and off sale. This comes from Minnesota Statute 340A. And it is 101 subdivisions 20 and 21. And this one's just pretty clear. I think it's pretty natural as a distinction. On sale means you have to consume it on the premises. Off sale means you can consume it off, or you are to consume it off the licensed premises only. Now, there are, of course, a lot more detailed types of licenses. There's 3.2 license, both on sale and off sale. There's temporary, there's annual, there's seasonal. There are combinations of all of the above. But in terms of the major distinction that matters for us, on sale versus off sale is, I think, the big one. All right. Now, as in so many situations, towns do get their own special statute, and this one is much weirder than our usual statute. So it comes from 340 Cap A .405, gives towns specifically in Ramsey County the power to issue off-sale intoxicating liquor licenses. Now, as far as I am aware, that is only White Bear Township. There's only one township in the state who gets this. So this one was originally captioned "Happy Polar Bear Noises," but apparently that didn't make it into the little bit of a glitch there. So Okay, what about the rest of us? Obviously, I am talking about this because townships throughout the state do have access to relevant powers. It's not just White Bear Township. So generally, the rule comes from Minnesota Statute 348.405, Subdivision 2. Now, it'll depend on the details of the specific license that you're talking about. I have a couple of example provisions here. This comes from Subdivision 2 in parens B and Subdivision 2 in parens C. But generally speaking, the county board issues the license. Before it does that, it holds a hearing. And then falling out of the statute that we have that we've just seen is the township board must either pass or refuse to pass a resolution supporting the issuance of that license within its territory. That's where we get our power here. Now, I've just talked about the town board's authority. That's true in basically every case that we talk about, except for one. And this one comes from Minnesota Statute 8.504, Subdivision 3 in parens C, which is sales. This is the only instance in which the elector's opinion is required. And it is on sale Sunday sale liquor licenses. A county may not issue an on-sale Sunday sales intoxicating liquor license to an establishment in the town unless the electors have authorized it. The question must be submitted by ballot to the electors at the town election. There is a specific ban on doing this, having a special election for one of these, oddly enough. Let's see, I see here, Baytown Township issues temporary alcohol and gambling licenses and does resolutions if approved, and then sends to Washington County on for approval and on to the state. So yes, you certainly can, if you have an arrangement with your county that way. And I can't speak to specifically Baytown's situation, but it sounds like the county has a standing regulation permitting Baytown Township to issue it directly themselves. I think that would appear to be permitted by the 405 architecture here. So certainly we are talking in general terms, and if you have specific questions, of course, I'm happy to talk more specifically about any individual situation. So yeah, thank you for that observation. Okay, so obviously one of the other big pieces that we're concerned about as township board members is revenue, and this can be a source of revenue. So a town board may impose additional license fees on sale intoxicating liquor license establishment
Yeah, Graham, you're still cutting in and out.
license.
You're still cutting in and out, Graham.
Guys, let me see if I can do a little troubleshooting here. I'm just going to get a little bit closer to my wireless router here, and hopefully that'll resolve our issue. Check 1 2, check 1 2. All right, is this a little better for folks?
It sounds good right now.
Okay. Well, how long was I cutting in and out for?
If you can go back over the last like 5 minutes, that'd be fine.
Okay. All right. Sorry about that, folks. All right. Let us go to the. Okay. So we were talking about, generally speaking, the town board is the entity that has permission or that has the authority to issue these licenses or to approve them, more specifically if you're using the 405 process. Now, there is an exception to that. That exception comes from Minnesota Statute 340A.504 subdivision 3C, and it is specific to the Sunday sale process. So the electors have to approve the issue of Sunday on sale liquor licenses. Now, there are a few special rules around this. You see an excerpt directly from the statute there. Only if authorized to do so by the voters of the town. The question must be submitted by a ballot, and a special election may not be called to ask this question. Interestingly enough, there is a very specific prohibition on that one. Okay. Now, one of the, of course, one of the things that we're concerned about as township officers is revenue for the township. And this can be a source of revenue, at least a small one. So a town board is empowered to impose an additional license fee on each on-sale intoxicating liquor license establishment up to 20% of the county license fee. So the process is fairly straightforward. It should be by resolution. That resolution should be preceded by notice to the affected parties, and the township should have a hearing on it. The township may also impose an additional fee of up to 20% of the county license fee on an off-sale intoxicating liquor license. Now, there's an $800 cap on that one. If it's issued by a county, we tend to take the view based on the statute that the $800 cap is specifically for the county and not for us. So we get to exceed that. But as far as I'm aware, that one hasn't been officially settled by a court yet. So we are, well, I'm sorry, guys. I was up in my nice little closed off office that has very good noise protection. So this has been a bit of a comedy of errors. I apologize. All right. So in terms of our licenses, there's an additional piece, and that comes from the malt liquor license and the non-intoxicating liquor license. So this one, interestingly enough, is set specifically by the county, but the county is required to pay the town board 1/2 of the fee that it receives from such licenses. Now, because the town receives 1/2, the town cannot impose an additional fee on this one. So there are a couple of nice little revenue producing mechanisms there that you could consider using if this problem comes up. Now, in terms of convenience here, we do publish a resolution for folks to use if they want to do so. So it's pretty easy to just go ahead and take the resolution that we have and apply it to your particular situation. But that is what I have for you. So does anybody have any questions?
I love it.
Can you say hello to everybody?
Any questions off of Graham? And non-intoxicating, is that, or Pat, is that 3.2? I don't know about you, but I've been inebriated on 3.2. So I would consider that intoxicating.
I didn't invent the terminology. The legislature chooses its terms, and they are sometimes suboptimal.
That's funny. That's very funny. If there's nothing else for Graham, Lori, you have anything for us?
Well, that's kind of funny, Graham. I didn't realize you were at home. I was going to go see who was talking outside your office. There's nobody there. There was a couple of questions regarding W-2s and 1099s. I will add that to one of the Matt U on the process for going through that. And then CTAS, as far as using anything out of CTAS to help with your work comp audit, that's going to be your when you do your reports on your wages, that's the only thing that's going to help. Like we have been, you know, there is no report in CTAS for your work comp audit. That was a miscommunication. I think the idea of that was if you have CTAS, you have access to internet. So they're expecting it to be done electronically. I do know that we don't have to do insurance certificates anymore. We don't have to upload them or any contractor information. I just saw that on a newsletter that's going out. So that's going to help a lot. The only thing from CTAS, the only thing that's really going to be different this year, besides having to do it electronically, is they're going to want a copy of your W-3. And that is to verify your wages that you are reporting. When this came up, I did let them know that election judges are reported on the work comp audit, but those wages are not necessarily going to be on the W-3. And they understand that. As long as it's close, it's not going to be absolutely identical if you have election judges. So that's the only thing that's really going to be different. But yes, I will do a little thing on W-2s and 1099s. And then also the state auditors report, how to get that done. Some resources as far as if you do it manually, what you need to do. And some resources on what goes on what lines. Yeah, Mary, the W-2 and 1099 forms, we'll go through that, and it's not really going to be that long. Jeff would like me to keep it between 15 and 20 minutes, and I can talk pretty fast, and I don't need to talk as long as Jeff, so I think I can probably make that time frame.
Out.
And then there was a question from Mary, canceling meeting due to inclement weather is at the discretion of the town board chairman. I don't know the legalities of that, Graham. I would think that if it's inclement weather, I would myself go down to my town hall and put a note on saying, hey, what are you doing out here? We're not having a meeting tonight. This is when we're going to have it. So I don't know if that's legal.
So this is an interesting question. It's been a while since I pulled this one. I would say that there is a statute that very clearly provides the clerk with the authority to delay the meeting specifically for the annual meeting. But if you're talking about a normal meeting, it's not that clearly provided for. The procedure that I think is probably best under the circumstances is as part of your reorganization meeting, create a resolution specifically empowering the clerk to do this and create backup dates. Look, I think as a practical matter, of course, canceling a meeting is not going to violate the open meeting law in the same way that holding a meeting and not telling people. So that there's not a whole lot of, it's not like you're violating a law in an active way, unlike the other way around. So I would say not clearly provided for. One of the annual meeting has an alternative date published. Yes, so there is an alternative date set in statute, and a lot of townships publish that one too. So in terms of if you're dealing with an ordinary meeting, I would say as part of your reorganization meeting, make this part of the process, create a clear process for it. Still, like, look, if you're trying to set a meeting this Friday and people are going to die in a car crash, a court is going to look at you as being reasonable if you're taking care of your citizens' lives and property around this stuff, in my view. So hope that answers the question.
Yeah, and there was another question from Pat. Would like to know about the steps to do a cartway.
Okay, so this one is pretty involved in and of itself. We do publish guidance on this. In general, to do a cartway, so if you're talking about the mandatory establishment provisions, it begins with a petition from the landowner rather than the town board. So if you have more than 5 acres, if it's landlocked and navigable waters don't count, there's a there was a court case on this a couple of years back, and the legislature ended up doing a specific fix. So if you've got more than 5 acres, if there's no reasonable access there too, then the landowner is entitled to petition the board, and at that time, the board shall issue an order either allowing or not allowing the cartway. Now, in terms of your actual mechanics, I would say it's a deal more complicated than that. And the reason that it is more complicated than that is because this is one of the situations in which you probably want to hire a specific township attorney. And the reason for that is you will run into situations. I was talking to a township it was about a month ago now, who were dealing with the consequences of a previous generation of township officers had attempted to do this without an attorney's help. And they were so vague that nobody actually, in the order that issued, they were so vague that nobody actually knew where the specific cartway actually was. And so everybody was fighting about, no, it's in this portion of the land, it's in that portion of the land. And they kind of had to they had to do it again. But there's good news that goes along with this. Because the process is initiated by the petitioner, you get to set certain conditions on your process. So one of the things that we recommend pretty strongly is making that person put down a bond so that you can use that bond to hire the township attorney to make sure that the process is followed correctly and to make sure that the description happens correctly. And now there's more to it than that, and I'd be happy to send you specifically the guide. But in terms of your basic pieces, that's kind of the important thing to know, at least as far as I'm concerned, if that makes sense. How much of the bond? So that's going to depend on who you end up talking to. Now we recommend a number of we recommend a number of there's some experienced township attorneys. Each one of them have a different number. I believe so the guys at Kennedy and Graven are doing $10,000 now, and that doesn't mean that they're going to consume $10,000, but it does mean that they are getting set for litigation, because this is one of those areas in which people get real mad. People will take this stuff to the Court of Appeals, so they are making sure that they can get paid for the entirety of the process. I know that Corey and Rupi use a different number. I know that Peter TD uses a different number. So that's something to, if you've got a guy you trust, talk to him, see what his number is, set that as your number. If you'd like to use one of the folks that we recommend, and we recommend them for a reason, they're good at this stuff. That's one of the part of the conversation to have with them. What's the bond that you recommend petitioners put up? The property is on the township line, or we could go into the other township, which would be better. So if you're talking, so the landowner could petition either town board for a cartway. That's an interesting situation. I would tend to take the view that, so let's pull the statute here just a moment.
For sure what they'll do, so it's kind of Chris Collins on your end, what feels better to
just a moment here.
right, and
So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen just a moment. Okay. Can everybody see my screen okay here? So what we are looking at here is this portion.
Right. Prior to.
So upon petition presented to the town board by the owner of a tract of land containing at least 5 acres who has no access thereto except over a navigable waterway or over the lands of others, the town board shall by resolution establish. So in my view, what we are looking at in that situation is that landowner gets to decide which town board he wants to approach with this. So long as he's meeting those conditions, so the town boards get to look at each other and say, has somebody else established this cartway? Okay, then you do in fact have reasonable access to it. But if there is no reasonable access to it and he comes to you, then it's a shall establish, in my view, if that makes sense.
Yes, I think so. And I think it
All
actually,
right. Any other questions for Graham or Lori or for myself? How wide? It must be for you.
2 rods.
Yeah, just to let you know, we had that issue in our township, my own township, the cartway. And I got the attorney and he did it all for me because I didn't want to make any mistakes. So that's what I did. We got our attorney involved right away. And of course, that was appealed for, well, still going on since 2005. So yeah, just find an attorney.
That's why we recommend an attorney, and that's why we recommend a bond up front, because you do not want your taxpayers to be on the hook for somebody's driveway.
Exactly. Great
Well,
question.
and the problem with, in my case, is the board did do damages and settlements within the bond. Then the people that were affected by that didn't like it, so they appealed it. And then the judge that they had appeal it put a settlement of 1.2 million. And the landowner wasn't going to pay $1.2 million in damages. So
Wow.
it's been going on for a while. I think they're done with their appeal process, or they ran out of money. I'm not sure. We haven't heard anything for a while.
All right.
So I see that there's an additional issue here, which is the problem is that it's Pat's land. Go to the other township, then you can avoid a conflict of interest.
Well, thanks, everybody. Any other questions at all? Hearing none, I wish you all a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And I hope you all have some great plans with your friends and family. And look forward to seeing you next year. As all the time, if you have any questions, please feel free to give us a call here at the office. And but God bless. We'll talk to you soon. Take care.